For over a year and a half now at this point, I have been deemed this show's Jose Perez, just never showing up, not being here when it counts. And I'd like to say today that narrative changes. Happy Thursday and welcome into PHNX Sun Devils, presented by Branded Bills. Head to brandedbills.com, use code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. I am Erik Ruby, and joined alongside me, never mind, Totree's not here. Mr. Vacations strikes again in the middle of the bye week. We are going to get silly on today's program. We're going to give Totree a whole lot of FOMO, but of course, y'all ain't missing out. Everybody in the chat, BC, Aaron Wilson, Ben, John, McKay, David, Emily, Rob, and a bunch of members. Pretty much everybody's a member right now. We have a packed show today. We're going to be talking what everybody wants to talk about, and that's special teams, special teams, special teams, special teams. Special teams. We're also going to be taking a look at some other stuff at Arizona State with football, and then we're going to be taking a look at the rest of the Big 12, but have no fear. I'm not alone. You don't have to suffer with the passenger princess driving alone the entire time. I am joined by the incomparable, the amazing, the undeniable Ralph Amsden. I mean, literally the sixth man of the year at PHNX. Just an incredible voice in the Sun Devil community. Just hopped off of Sun Devil Spaces last night, and now here on PHNX Sun Devils this afternoon.
It's good to see you, Erik Ruby. Very good to see you.
It's good to see you, Ralph. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. It's busy. We got high school football and college football, and last week they decided to do both of them at the exact same time. And it was a fun night. I got to host Sun Devil Spaces and then ask if anybody wanted to take over, throw my phone in the other room, and then fire up my high school football spaces, which goes till about 2:30 in the morning. So I was.
So you were double spacing?
I was double spacing. Size 15 font, double space, the way you cheat on papers in high school.
I would always, this is a little tip for any of our viewers that are still doing this. You don't change the font of the text, especially if the teacher is very particular. You change the size of the punctuation. So you go through, you make all your periods 14 instead of 12. Your exclamation points 14 instead of 12. It could give you a good half a page on like a long paper. So I've heard, Ralph.
Assuming, of course, you'd only need this in an emergency because Arizona State fans and current students, all rule followers. No one at Arizona State has ever broken the rules in any way, doing anything.
No, especially not in football. We've never had football penalties for breaking any sort of rules.
Absolutely not. Or basketball.
No, nothing at all. We are clean over here. And I would say that's not even me breaking the rules. That's me emphasizing the focus on innovation. Right? Like number one in innovation, tell me that's not an innovative way to get things done.
If you're making a salient point, why would the period not be bigger? Why would the explanation point not be more pronounced?
All right. Well, before we get in trouble or get somebody else in trouble, Ralph, I asked you what you wanted to talk about today because we love having you on. And it's like, all right, open slate. Totree and I, we're in the weeds every day. You're in the weeds every day. But it's rare that you and I have a meeting of the minds like this. And you brought up special teams. Why do you want to talk about Arizona State special teams?
Well, I decidedly do not want to talk about Arizona State special teams at all, but the fans keep bringing up Charlie Ragle. And is it the boredom of success? That's what I want to know. And it's a shame that we can't open it up to everybody so that they can scream how they feel about it. It's just I don't I currently do not believe that there is such a problem with our special teams that it's going to um, draw an artificial lower ceiling on what this team is able to accomplish. Not yet, anyway. I think a lot of people feel differently. Um, I don't know much about what you're supposed to do on punt coverage, even though I played quite a bit of it, or kickoff coverage. I know you stay in your lanes, but if we're talking about made field goals, missed field goals, net punt yardage, what is a special teams coach ultimately supposed to do with some of those things, with multiple years in a row of a punter getting injured? Is that coaching? Is it bad luck? Are we being nitpicky? I just have a lot of questions. I wonder what you're hearing. What is this something? Am I making it up, or do you hear this too?
I think a couple of things can be true at the same time. I think that, you say like the boredom of success, or I forget exactly how you phrased it. We've seen this team now at 4-1, back in the AP top 25, fix a lot of what was wrong with them, or at least improve on, right? Special teams feels like really the only unit that has gotten a little worse as these games have gone on. And by a lot of metrics, they're one of the worst special teams in the country. In fact, we have this graphic here that ranks all special teams in the country by K Ford ratings, and Arizona State literally dead last. And
dead last at what? That's important. Dead last at what? Let's read the top together.
It says designed to be purely predictive or forward-looking and scaled 0 to 100, with 50 being the FBS average, not resume ranking. So looking forward, they're scaling Arizona State to have the worst special teams in the country.
So I think that's important to specify, right? That the expectation is that Arizona State is going to have the worst special team. This is not a ranking of what currently exists. The actual rankings are not very good. I'm not making excuses for anybody, but what are some important metrics? Could we say that average punt return yards, that's an important metric?
Yeah.
Would you say? Okay, so Arizona State in average punt return yards is 53rd. That's not dead last. What about
It's not great though. Returns? I mean, it's not great.
It's not great, but it's not dead last. There are 136 of these teams, and so when you look at the Kelly Ford, typically like a basketball ratings, a lot of people pay attention. A Wyoming alum, shout out. But the reason that people might get confused when they're looking at something like that is they would just assume, oh, that means we're worse performing in every single category. But average kickoff return, 121st. That's bad, but it's not dead last. Average yards per punt, it's 107th. That's bad. Well, it's tied for 106th, technically. That's bad, but it's not dead last, if that makes sense. In field goal percentage, as the kids like to say, 6-7, we are 67th. That is not great, but it's not dead last. And so it's important in how you actually, I see your face. It's important that you actually get into what the actual metrics are. Is it as good as people want it to be? No. But does that K Ford chant actually specify that we're the worst special teams unit in the entire country? No. It's a predictive rating, and we don't even know what those numbers are based off of.
Yeah, and I bring that up because that's been the thing that's been making the rounds on like Sun Devils social. Like you see a ton of people in the Sun Devil community quote tweeting that. And I want to get something clear. I'm not too worried about the special teams. I will say this, and Short Bus in the chat says, how many of these shank punts, which I think is probably like the number one thing that I'm looking at, is the punting itself, because giving an opposing team good field position is going to bite you in the ass if you continue to do it throughout the season, especially as you play the Utahs, the Texas Tech, the Iowa States, or if you get to the Big 12 championship, if you get to the college football playoffs. The difference between those 15 to 20 yards could be the difference between a field goal and a touchdown or no points at all, right? But Shortbus says, how many of these shank punts have actually led to points? I haven't watched a game where I thought, gee, we're in trouble. And I agree. I don't think that really we've been in the spot where, Matt McKenzie shanks a punt and all of a sudden the game has completely flipped. But getting good opponent field position is critical, and you don't want to put your defense in a spot where it feels like they have to make a play every single possession. And that's what it felt like they had to do in those possessions, and the defense played out of their minds. What if one play goes differently, right? What if, one of these sacks or interceptions or tips or whatever it is 1 inch different, and TCU scores 7 points on one of those drives, right? Because they had good field position. Now, it didn't happen, but who's to say that's not going to happen against Utah? Who's to say that's not going to happen against Texas Tech? Or those aren't teams who are going to be able to take advantage of it? I think you can acknowledge that it needs to be better. Like, your special teams needs to be better. It's been your weakest unit. You need to be better at punting. I get Jesus Gomez is dealing with something, and everybody expected him to never miss a kick, but he's hit them when they've counted. You still would like him to go better than 2 of 4 with a long of 26 against TCU. And in fact, that game wouldn't have needed that field goal at the end if he had hit his field goals before. But these are things that, A, I feel like can be improved, and B, like, their health has been a pretty big part of this as well, which is why I don't fully understand the people who are sitting out here and asking for Charlie Ragel's job, right? Like saying Arizona State needs to make this change. They need a change in leadership. They need a change in ideation. They need a change in something in special teams. I would assume, Ralph, that you're kind of where I'm at, which is, if I got the notification that Charlie Ragel's been let go or has been reassigned, I'd be pretty surprised at this point. And I probably wouldn't agree with that decision.
Yeah, I mean, it would be one of those things where it's like, this is completely outside my control, but you know that it would constitute a big dynamic shift within the building, because people have to acknowledge who Charlie Ragel is to Kenny Dillingham. There is no Kenny Dillingham without Charlie Ragel, and that is not to say that Kenny Dillingham is out here doing charity, having someone who was Cal's special teams coach for 6 years before he was a head coach at Idaho State, who had special teams experience at University of Arizona as well. Like that there's no inability there. A big part of what a special teams coach does is like a mental advocate and a mental coach, and making sure that their players are at ease. That's also the role that Charlie Ragel serves for a lot of the coaching staff of this team. He is the one who gives pregame speeches to the entire roster. So this is my ultimate hang up with it, because I think that it's clearly objective. Special teams is not where we want it to be. So that's thing one. That's an absolute truth. Absolute truth number two is that 100% of fans that are calling for Charlie Ragel's job don't have a specific suggestion other than, I want it better. That's it. And
have you tried punting the ball better? Have you tried making field goals? Have we tried that in the coaching room? Have we talked about it?
Right. So not only have they induced competition, not every school in the country has multiple punters that were competing for a starting job. Not every school in the country has moved on from kickers multiple years in a row to go pursue somebody else to see if they could get better in that area, because the entire program does foster a culture of competition. Not every program in the country has switched up who their returner is, and that's, ultimately ended up with a pretty solid one to end last season. And so what is it specifically that we want? Is it just like a Dora the Explorer type thing? Like Charlie Rankle will be like, hey, Shanker, no shanking. Like what are you supposed to do? And what will bringing a different voice do in that area? I genuinely think, and for the people who are in the chat saying better players, do you think you can do that midseason? This is not the NFL. And they kind of tried to do it midseason last year by holding an open tryout. And we can acknowledge that Kenny Dillingham did call out special teams publicly, apologized for calling out special teams publicly. So we know that it's an issue. But what specifically can be done? Do we have any football experts out there, any personnel experts out there that can say, hey, these are the really specific issues that are happening, and here's how we'd like to see them different? And I'm not challenging the credibility of the fans, because I see plenty of legitimate criticism about certain play calling with Arroyo, and there's fans that talk about, I would do this differently, roll out this way, play action that. I've seen a lot of intelligent discussions about other areas of football, but when it comes to special teams, it's just people saying, I don't like thing. I want thing changed. And that part of it I don't really understand. You do have to understand who Charlie Riggle is to this program and who he is to Kenny Dillingham, and what the overall risk of a change could be, what the actual dynamic shift within the program could be. You might end up with a net negative. No one ever considers that possibility, that like, well, you pick door number one and you get a car, and you have that car, but they say, or you could have behind what's, door number two. It's that whole Simpsons thing. Well, it could be anything. It could even be another car, but it could be nothing. And so I think that's the thing that people have to take into account when they are calling for somebody's job, or they want someone who serves the role that Charlie Riggle serves within this coaching staff moved off a certain position. Just think, then talk or type. Just think first. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. And I think there's, and I also I understand people who just see the results to say something needs to change. Like, football fans do not need to be football experts, right? Like, you're not getting paid to be a football expert. In fact, sometimes you are paying to just watch the team. And so when you look at a facet of the game, and it's not just this year, but it has been, the last couple of years, that there have been a lot of moments that you look at special teams as something that from a game-to-game basis is a negative instead of a positive. And especially last year, you talk about, yes, you need to add better talent. How do you do that? How do you coach that? Like, on paper, if ASU had a better kicker, which, by the way, they went and they got in the portal this offseason, like, you might be looking at a team that only had one regular season loss, if any, and maybe a team that would have, and I get they actually hit field goals in the college football playoffs, but might have been able to be a little bit more reliable, and the play calling would have been different. And so it's like, it's not that special teams isn't making an impact on this team. And I think that when you're watching the game and you're watching the punts, or you're watching missed field goals a lot last year, and I'm not going to get too mad at Jesus Gomez for this past week, besides just saying that, yeah, he does need to get better. I think part of that is health. I think the bye week is going to come into a really good spot with that. Like, it's okay to sit back and say this needs to be better. But again, like you said, calling for somebody's job, you can just say the unit needs to be better. And you know what? If we get to the same point next year and it's the same struggle, like, at that point, I feel like you do have to talk about it, because it is something that you can see, like, to the naked eye. You don't have to be a football expert to know that special teams has struggled. And I think there are some legitimate concerns, and one of them gets brought up in chat here from William. Says, kick and punt coverage have been terrible the past 2 years. Riggle doesn't coach the players well, but relies on them to execute. So it's either a development issue or a talent evaluation issue with him. Do you feel like maybe there's a role for Riggle where he's still on the team, but maybe not specifically in special teams? Do you think, even change anything? Because from what I'm hearing from you, I feel like there is no change to that position that could fix some of the problems that Arizona State has dealt with.
No, I think that there could absolutely be a potential for change that fixes some of those problems. However, no one is specifying what that change is. So let's look at William Jasper's comment. Riggle doesn't coach the players well, but he relies on them to execute. How do we know he isn't coaching them well? Like, what do you know this? Do you know that there is a specific thing missing? A specific thing that other schools are teaching that he is not? Do we actually know what that is? Or do we just assume correlation and causation? The special teams is not playing well, therefore the coach is not coaching well. I think that's a pretty common conclusion for most people to reach when they're talking about college football or performance of any kind. To them, it's a 1 + 1 = 2 proposition. At the end of the day, it could be a personnel issue. It could be a depth issue. It could be an injury issue. A lot of things could go into it. I think what people are concerned with is their own satisfaction and their own peace of mind that someone is doing something. But not all motion is good motion. Not all motion is good motion. Not all movement is good movement. Movement for the sake of movement can only, by definition, be accidentally good. So what are you moving toward? Who are you going to get? would you consider the possibility of bringing in a special teams consultant? There are a lot of staffs that have had layoffs recently. There are a lot of staffs that got laid off last year. There's a lot of retired special teams coach. Could there be the possibility of bringing in somebody to consult for a time being to figure that out? Or is the suggestion that we go to right away, fire somebody? And I just think that it's short-sighted, and it's a weird thing for a fan base of a team coming off a college football playoff appearance and that is currently 4-1 and one play away from 5-0 to be talking about. Yet, I mean, the tail is wagging the dog because I'm here.
No, but like, and again, I think there's like this balance to it because yes, this team is 4-1. Yes, they're one play away from being 5-0. Yes, they went to the college football playoffs. It's the same thing when you analyze Sam Levitt. It's the same thing when you analyze this team as a whole, the defense, whatever it is. You are now held to a certain standard on all facets of the game. The fans expect enormous amount of success, in part because of the coaching staff, in part because of what this coaching staff has been able to get out of what some people would consider players that shouldn't be giving that type of production. Obviously, the top-end talent is here, but going into last season, nobody expected the top-end talent to really be that top-end talent except for Cam Scadaboo, and even he overachieved to massive expectations. I think that when you look at any unit, if any unit on this team was struggling to the level that special teams has been struggling, it was going to be a conversation, right? Because this team is supposed to be good. And this team also did make changes in personnel in special teams over the summer to try to fix that. Well, I don't think that firing Regal right now is going to change anything and could be a net negative, like you say, considering, yes, his relationship with the team, with Kenny, and with everything that's going on. I think Bees also puts it well where it's like, ultimately, at the end of the day, if there is a problem, as something's happening, if there is a problem,
fire the graphics coordinator.
I think Regal got in on the stream. No, but if there's a problem, Ralph, and there's a problem that has been consistent for years, for literal years, and it's not getting fixed, even if you can sit here and say, well, does firing somebody change it? What is this person specifically doing that's causing this? If you are in charge of a unit as a whole, if it is your responsibility for that unit to perform at a certain level, and your unit is not performing at that level, not just for 1 year, not just for 2 years, not just for 3 years, but then you come up on 4 years, right? You come through multiple personnel changes. And I get it, there's injuries and all of that, but if an offensive coordinator did that, if a defensive coordinator did that, if a head coach did that, people are going to want change. People are going to want to see something different because at the end of the day, you're going to get a ton of the credit when your unit is successful, and you're going to get a lot of the blame when it's not. And if your unit's not successful for an extended period of time, there is going to be responsibility that falls on your shoulders, even if we as fans or analysts or journalists or whatever it is cannot specifically point to what the fault is or what the detriment is. There's clearly something that's not working.
I feel you. And it was an impassioned defense. And Arizona State sits comfortably at 15th in the country with kick points per game. Hasn't missed an extra point yet. Went out and brought in the best available kicker, a kicker that helped us get Herm Edwards fired. And people are convinced that punt coverage is so terrible that the person telling players what to do is actually putting them in the incorrect position on purpose or through sheer ignorance. And it's interesting to me. That's all.
Sure. And I want it to be known that like, I do agree with you right now, but there's also this nature of the beast of
course,
if you're coaching high level football and like you're Kenny Dillingham and you're holding your program to a standard and there is a unit who consistently does not step up to the standard, something has to be done. Now, I'm not saying you need to fire Regal, but something has to be done. And ultimately it's your job to fix it. We were getting on the offense. And we still are getting on the offense for a lot of things they had been doing about involving other players, or if we want to go and break it down player by player, the standard that we've held Sam Levitt to, right? The standard that we've held these running backs to, like if on the field it's not working, if on the field you are not getting that production, it sometimes doesn't matter where it's coming from. There needs to be something that changes and you need to improve, or else you are not doing your job, or your unit is not doing the job that they need to do. We've seen lots of coaches, head coaches, offensive coordinators, special teams coordinators, and whatever get fired when we don't really know the workings behind or what they did to deserve it or whatever, simply because when it's time to play football, your unit is underperformed. It is not a wrong thing to say that the special teams needs to be better, even though I think there are some individual parts of it that are already better from last year. It is not where it needs to be as a whole. I am not smart enough to tell you how to fix that, but I am smart enough to look at it and say, it's your weakest unit right now on the field.
It is the weakest unit right now on the field, but how many Arizona State fans would be surprised to find out that Arizona State is top 10 in field goals made per game? How many Arizona State fans would be surprised to find out they're top 15 in the country in kick points per game? How many people would be surprised to find out we haven't even missed an extra point, or that we're 53rd in the country in average punt return ahead of Oregon? It isn't registering to people right now that this isn't actually a complete disaster of a unit. There are measurements for success out there. Don't get tricked by a graphic because you can't read small print.
and that's why I wanted to bring up the graphic, because it's just been going everywhere. It's been going everywhere. You see the dark red, you see Arizona State last, and it's tough. By the end of the day, the team is 4-1, Ralph. Like, the team.
And the question I'd ask about this is, and I'll ask you right now, I'll ask anyone, 1.3 what?
Exactly.
1.3 what?
Oh, well, it's the K Ford rating.
1.3 Ralphs.
1.3 Ralphs.
Okay. That's 0.3 too many Ralphs.
Well, we have 1.0 Ralphs on this show, and I'm not going to keep him here to talk about special teams the entire time. But once again, whether it's me and Totri, whether it's me and Ralph, you're not getting 30 minutes of special teams talk anywhere else in the country, let alone in Sun Devil land. But what else has Ralph been taken away from this 4-1 start? And what about the rest of the Big 12? We're going to get to that after we take our first break. Why, yes, I am looking extra handsome today, and I appreciate everybody who's been pointing it out. And by everybody, I mean nobody. But it's okay, because I'm wearing these branded Bills hats almost every single second of every single day, because I like to look good. I also like to feel good. It's not just about the style, even though I am about the style. It's also about the performance. It's the fact that every time I put a branded Bills hat on my head, it's comfortable. And it's comfortable, but not in the sense where it's like your old beaten down, tattered hat that you can't wear out really to do anything because it just doesn't look good. No, they look good, they feel good, they're stylish, and you can represent your team. With snapbacks, truckers, fitted beanies, or tees, they have you covered in every facet of the game. They have partnerships with 40 universities, but none more important than Arizona State University. And just for me, they also partner with the Phoenix Suns, and they're a local company, and you can get your own brand on Branded Bills. Head to brandedbills.com, use code BBPHNX, that's BBPHNX, for 15% off your first order. I wish I had them with me, but I'm always rocking my Shady Rays while I was driving in today, when I walked to go pick up lunch. Sometimes I wear my Shady Rays indoors on this program, and it gets a lot of people angry, including the deli man. But you know what? It's because I love Shady Rays. I was notorious at breaking my sunglasses. I was notorious at losing my sunglasses, and I felt comfortable when I got Shady Rays, because if I lost them or broke them, even on day one, they were going to send me a new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. The thing is, these Shady Rays mean so much to me. I haven't broken them. I haven't lost them. And I believe I'm going on just about a year now, which is the longest I've ever had a single pair of sunglasses without either of that happening. And we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com, use code PHNX for 35%. That's 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. We have 300,000 people here in chat. Okay, maybe not that many, but you all mean that much to me. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, become a member today like all the other green names with the badges in chat.
Ralph, do you want to see a dance party?
You want to see a dance party, Ralph?
I love dance parties.
Well, We could do a dance party, but we only do dance parties when somebody becomes a member. And for $5 a month, you can become a member. The join button is right next to the subscribe button or right next to the channel button.
Come on, chat. Let us dance.
Everybody start spamming the dilly emoji. Spam the dilly emoji in the chat just to let people know what they're missing out on. Let people know what they need to see. You get the special badge. You get a prepaid super chat every single month for $5 a month. So it's like you're getting these extra emojis and everything just for a price of a singular super chat. It's super fun.
I nominate David as well, Sharon.
David, I feel, David or William. Those are the two I'm calling up, not out. I'm calling you two up, not out. Become a member today, and we'll party. We'll make Ralph dance. How about that?
Sick Pass says nobody danced
my.
for me. I joined between shows.
Oh, should we dance for Sick Paths?
Maybe at the end of the show.
If another person joins, we will dance for both the person who joined and for Sixth Paths. Deal? Ralph's going to twerk on air. Stick around. Ralph, besides that, lots to talk about today. Besides special teams and the 30 minutes that we just spent about kick coverage and punt returns and everything like that, what have been your big takeaways from 5 games into Arizona State's season, back in the top 25 after starting at 11? A lot of people were disappointed, and I think slowly they've been brought back to center on this team. Where are you sitting in the first bye week of the season?
Pretty satisfied. All you really can hope for is an opportunity. And right now, Arizona State has a fantastic opportunity to make a repeat trip to the Big 12 championship. It's not outside of the realm of possibility based on what they've shown so far, based on the current health of the roster, and based on what else is going on in the Big 12. So as of right now, Arizona State has an opportunity to have its first or second best year in the last decade. And that is extraordinarily satisfying. At the same time, it feels like Brian Ward's unit is carrying this team, and I'm very grateful for the development that has allowed for not just the starters, but people who are stepping in roles of injury to know their role, to do it well, and to respond to some of these high-level offenses like Baylor, TCU, and Jeff Lebby's Mississippi State Bulldogs. He's a brilliant offensive mind, and that game was played on the road. What Arizona State has been able to accomplish defensively so far, to me, puts them in the absolute top tier of the Big 12. And then you look at the offense, and you can base a lot on what you saw last year versus what you've seen this year, and say it is untapped potential. There's a lot of people who say, like, if we could fix this, we'd be on another level, but it's wishful thinking. We know, and we've seen prior execution, especially after Jordan Tyson went down with an injury last year. So the potential, I think, is there for the offense to do even better than it's doing right now. And oh, by the way, this not so good offense has the leading receiver and leading rusher in the Big 12. So it could certainly be worse than it is right now.
I feel like it could certainly be worse, and I almost look at it as a positive that it could be better, because what we saw last year with the team, Ralph, was that they just continued to get incrementally better week in and week out. I think the difference between this year and last year is the strength of schedule. Not that Arizona State didn't play good teams last year, because they certainly did. But you look at, obviously, you took down Baylor, you took down TCU. Those are 2 good teams. I'd say they are not necessarily at top shelf contenders in the Big 12, and we'll get to your overall takeaways of the Big 12 as a whole later, but I would say they are dark horse contenders to go on a run and to somehow end up in the Big 12 championship. You already took them down, right? Not super convincingly scoreboard wise, but when you look at the stats, and especially what they did against TCU, is a little bit more lopsided than what the final score showed you. But then you look ahead: Utah, Texas Tech, Houston, who hasn't lost a game, Iowa State, who hasn't lost a game as well. And then at the end of the season, you've got a little bit of an easier path, a little bit of an easier runway. I think that this incremental improvement is going to have to turn into pretty substantial steps starting next weekend in Utah, especially when it comes to the red zone offense, because I don't think that you have that middle stretch of teams like a Kansas that's struggling, like a UCF that ended up not being that great, to kind of get yourself over the hump with just incremental improvements.
I agree with you. It's quite a stretch in the middle of the season, and stylistically it varies, which is kind of cool, and is going to provide some unique challenges for Brian Ward and for this defense. But what you did do is you severely limited the offenses in this conference that I believe have greater potential than you in at least half of what they do. Josh Hoover had 204 net yards. This is somebody who threw for 4,000 plus yards last season, and you held him to, I think, maybe his fourth lowest passing total in the last 4 seasons, and sacked him 4 times. Sawyer Robertson, after one game, was getting all the love and praise and, Heisman contender mojo thrown his way, and you were able to limit his production, even though I thought Hoover and Robertson actually looked good against Arizona. Like, you could see flashes of what they were capable of, and you could visibly see that Arizona State was limiting those capabilities based on scheme and effort. And so, when you see what your defense is capable of, and what your offense could be capable of, I think it puts you in a good position. But I don't think there's any real reason to be fearful or look at this 4-game chunk as, and look at the brand names and kind of be taken aback by it. You have to address Utah on what they actually are right now. And what they are is a team that is maybe 75% of what a college offense could or should be, which is exactly what Baylor and TCU are, just in a different way. Devin Dampier is not going to stretch the field. He's not going to be throwing deep outs. He's not going to be working down the seam. And if he does, something has gone seriously wrong, or they set it up over time. That's not the way that the offense is going to run. And then you look at a team like Iowa State. I don't know if you saw the 12 guys that were walked off the field when they beat the living hell out of Arizona, but there's a reason that Cincinnati's favored over them this week.
Yeah, they have like no secondary now.
Yeah, their entire team is beat to hell. What happened when a beat to hell Iowa State team took on Arizona State last year in the Big 12 championship?
Pretty good for us.
Yeah, it was not bad at all. And then you look at Texas Tech, and as long as the starting quarterback is the starting quarterback, you have a chance. To put that backup in, it might be a little bit different.
I don't know. Shane's a huge Baron Morton guy. Shane loves Baron Morton.
No, I don't.
You have a poster of him up in your office.
No, I love Will Hammond.
Yeah, you're a big Will Hammond guy.
Ralph, we got to dance.
Ralph, I want to hear your thoughts on the red zone, but David S. has become a member. Six Paths has become a member. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to party! Ralph's gonna twerk!
Woo, twerk, 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 twerk.
Let's go, Ralph! Oh, hey! Hey! Spam the emojis in the chat. All of y'all are members. The Kenny emoji, the Sparky emoji, the forks up emoji. Let everybody know what they're missing out on. If we get 5 more members, Ralph's gonna take his shirt off. Keep on joining. Hit that join button. Shout out to Sixth Paths. Shout out to David. Shout out to all of our members. Sixth Paths saying this is exactly how I dreamed this would go down. Huge for the program, Ralph.
I'm just sitting here thinking about the ancestors I disappointed by dancing at all, and the other ancestors I disappointed by dancing for free.
I mean, it's not really for free. I know, like, the money's not going in your pocket, but like they had to do something.
Makes you feel any better. It's not going in mine either.
Yeah, it's not going in our pockets either. But they had to do something for it, so worth it, I guess. Zachary says, what has this place become? What it's always been.
Yeah, I don't think you've been looking close enough.
Yeah, I did the worm on our Baylor show, man.
That was TCU.
Oh, TCU. Yeah, my bad.
You weren't here for the Baylor show.
I wasn't here for the Baylor show. My bad.
Hey, aren't we? I'm glad that we can put to bed the Erik Ruby curse. We were worried for a second.
Yeah, that it was all my fault.
Yeah,
me too. I'm always worried that it's all my fault. Now it's time for the Suns to prove that it's not all my fault as well. Ralph, back to football.
Yes,
Are you worried about the red zone struggles?
Yeah, a lot, a lot. I am
Do you feel
because
like it's
it's
fixable?
probably. I mean, there's a thing that is called regression to the mean, and I think there's probably a thing that is progression to the mean. And so you figure it's going to work out eventually, if not accidentally. Um, some good we've done some good things. Sam Levitt from the pocket anywhere on the field isn't a strength of the team at this current moment, and running up the gut isn't a strength of this team at the current moment. Two consistent pass catching tight ends on the field in 21 personnel, not a current strength, but perhaps some of those tight ends that we hyped up all off season long could maybe contribute in some way at some point this season. We got 2 weeks to figure it out. But I do worry because it it seems like it becomes a competence issue when you're in a tight space, when you're playing in a phone booth. And what it alarms me about is not the red zone, but the rest of the field.
Mm.
Because I think so much of our offense right now is based off of uh, a free blitzer coming up the middle and Sam Levitt hitting that turbo spin move to the outside and then making the decision whether he's going to run because long developing routes have cleared out a bunch of space, or um, he's laser locked in Top Gun style on one receiver. And when you have a lot of room on the field, you can do a lot with those things just out of sheer will. And so the red zone issues actually make me concerned about the offense as a whole, not just what's happening in the red zone, because it starts to make me think that a lot of the yardage we are procuring is happening because our quarterback has highway to the danger zone playing in his head 24 hours a day.
It's kind of how I want it with a quarterback, though, right? I don't want
Same,
thoughts. I
same,
just
yeah.
want danger zone.
Just
That's all I
vibes.
need. I agree. I think that the offense, and we've said this on the show, and I talked about it in our Die Hard Discord. It feels like the offense is getting bailed out by the top end talent. Obviously, Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson at the top of that list, but Raleek Brown as well is certainly in that conversation. I think some of it is play calling. I think some of it is scheme. I would also say that, yes, red zone's a concern. Special teams is a concern. If I had to throw a third thing in there that I am concerned about, it is so far the offensive line's performance. Because as much as you want Sam Levitt to be able to sit in the pocket and deliver and make progressions and reads, which is something that he still does. You saw the game-tying touchdown to Jordan Tyson. That's actually exactly what he did. That being said, part of the reason why Sam is running is because Sam likes to run. Another part of it is because there's two guys in his face, and he really has no choice other than to get out of the way and make something happen. And he's able to, and that's awesome. And you love that he's able to do that. But you do wonder, what is the ceiling of a team that has the two problems we've already talked about, special teams, red zone, and then you throw in the fact that they do not have a dominant offensive line. In fact, the offensive line, as far as their entire offense goes, has been the biggest disappointment.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, you have two exotic blitz Big 12 teams that you've had to deal with that mix it up quite a bit, and Arizona State in some form was able to handle that. They at least moved the ball, and then you have a rebuilt Mississippi State defensive line where they got a lot bigger and a lot heavier and didn't play as many four down big split fronts that Arizona State took advantage of last year. So I think part of it is in some of the unique looks that you've seen thus far. Now, Utah is going to try to get home with the people they get home with. That's going to be the first time we're able to determine whether or not this offensive line is truly up for the challenge. A lot of age on the O line doesn't mean anything. Thank you, 2024 Oklahoma State, for
I was about to
teaching
say,
us
yep.
that lesson. But I think against Utah is the first time if we're really going to find out if our offensive line been getting magic tricks played on it, or if 1-to-1 they actually have trouble holding up, and then you can sound the alarm bells after that.
Yeah, I hear you, and they have been good enough to be 4-1, right? Again, like I say, the burden of expectation of where this team is expected to be, the heights they are expected to reach. Every single individual player, unit, production is going to be criticized and under a microscope, right? Sam Levitt's been under it. Jordan Tyson's been under it. Kenny Dillingham's been under it. Marcus Arroyo has been under it. Brian Ward has been under it. Charlie Ragle has been under it. The special teams, the red zone, the offensive line. Like, any problem has been highlighted that could be highlighted so far this season. The team's still 4-1. Now, the rest of the Big 12, there have been problems. There have been surprises. There have been a lot of really great storylines. And because we have what I would like to deem the greatest football mind walking this planet on the show with us,
Shane.
Hey, bro.
Every week. The second greatest joining this week. The third greatest is on vacation, and I'm just here. But we're going to talk about the rest of the Big 12. Plus, David Rodish became a member, but he asked, don't party. He said, Ralph, just give me 2 minutes on Wyoming's offense.
He didn't say don't party. He said, Ralph, don't dance. So we can still party while Ralph talks about the Wyoming offense.
We'll party while Ralph talks. Okay, so we'll do that at the end of the show. But first, we're going to take a break, and we're going to talk about the Big 12. You can party with Pure Edibles. The best part about Pure Edibles, though, is that you know exactly how you're going to feel. I know a lot of people who have experienced edibles before will hear that, and if you've had a bad one, you don't want to do it again. And I understand that. In fact, I was at a point in my life where I was feeling the same way. But the thing about Pure Edibles that's different is not just that they taste good. It's not just that they tell you exactly on the tin what the effect is going to be: sleepy, uplifted, relaxed, focused, balanced, blissful. But it's also easily shareable, easy to dial in your exact dose, so you're never guessing. You're never wondering how much you're going to take, and you can start low and go slow with Pure Edibles and enjoy the flavor, because they are a full-fledged candy company. It's not just a weed-flavored gummy covered in sugar to max the taste. No, they just taste good. They use CBN, CBG, CBD, and of course THC. And if you're in Arizona, swing by select local dispensaries to grab a Tower Station collab, and you could sip your edible as well. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona. Also, of course, as always, I got to give a big shout out to Desert Financial Credit Union. You cut me open, I bleed DFCU blue. And of course, there's no better place to do your banking in the desert if you're an Arizona sports fan than Desert Financial Credit Union. Not just because for more than 84 years, DFCU's been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, but also because they're dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. And for a lot of people, they hear that and it just sounds like corporate jargon that somebody says to make you nod your head and move on with your life. But Desert Financial is putting their money where their mouth is, quite literally, because they want to put their money where your pocket is. When you open up a free checking account online, get $200 in bonuses. That's $200 right to you. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Join Desert Financial and get yourself a couple $100. I feel like we got a couple hundred members at this point. Everybody's lighting up green in the chat. Everybody's lighting up the like button as well. Probably because Ralph is here, because they want to know, Ralph, your thoughts on the Big 12 as a whole. Texas Tech, Iowa State, two top teams in the conference. You look at the bottom of the conference, Kansas State is down there. Oklahoma State just fired their coach, their guy, their brand. What are your overall takeaways and your biggest storylines from the Big 12 through the season so far?
I'm a little bit surprised by Colorado, not to lead off with everybody's favorite team. Shout out Totri. I'm a little bit surprised by Colorado not having the quarterback position settled. Other than that, I think, they're actually running the ball well. They built a lead on BYU. They could still potentially be a problem. It's just a matter of whether or not the fan base convinces Dion to sell out for the future, put Julian Lewis in. And if that's the case, then we can go back to watching Colorado for the same reason that we watched them all of 2023, just the entertainment value. And I think that'll be fun to see, a 4 or 5 star quarterback as a true freshman do his thing. Speaking of a freshman quarterback, I thought that BYU would start the season 8-0 and fall apart. They are on the path to doing that right now with their comeback win. Bear Bachmeier kind of, he's got real youngest brother energy. He got two older brothers that play college football.
Tiger
and he just
Bachmeier.
and Hank,
Crazy.
good old Hank, who was coached by Zach, the offensive coordinator that got in trouble with us. That's who he was coaching at Boise State that led to us offering him the OC position. By the way, was Bear Bachmeier. Wow, forgetting somebody's
Hill.
last name
Zach
just
Hill?
because.
Zach Hill?
Yeah. I didn't realize that the sanctions in the show cause was show cause to remember a last name, but here we are. So, but there's a bunch of Bachmeiers, and the youngest one has no fear, and he's wearing number 47 or something like that to play quarterback.
I love it.
LJ Martin's a good running back. The team is so well coached. I hope all of those rumors about Kalani Sitake to UCLA or something like that derail their entire season. That wouldn't bother me in the slightest. But they look really, really good right now. There is a quarterback, Shane. Maybe you can help me remember his name. He plays somewhere in the middle of America.
This is a we thing, remember?
Bearcat mascot.
This is a we thing.
It's Ripped Sorsby, baby. We don't even call him by his first name. It's Ripped Sorsby. He's been great.
He is. Now Nebraska's only giving up like 60 passing yards a game to anyone, but at least in that game he rushed for over 100 and gave him a chance to win at the end. His only interception has been in that game as well. I don't trust their head coach in the slightest, and I do think they'll probably blow it against Iowa State. But it has been fun to watch the one guy I bet on be a decent quarterback. Other than that, I look at Texas Tech, and their defensive line is outperforming my expectations and almost living up to their salary. And just through, I think the first 3 games, they had 6 sacks and 11 tackles for a loss combined just in that front 4. So that has been money well spent if they're able to disrupt up front in that way. Baron Morton is pushing the ball downfield a little bit more, but man, his backup looks so good. May Baron Morton have a long and healthy season. That's kind of all I have to say about that. Houston is interesting to me. It's Willie Fritz is a fantastic coach. He went and got the OC that he left behind at Tulane that helped him get this job, brought him into place. He's had to replace his defensive coordinator. I don't think a lot of people thought Connor Weigman would be somebody who could help elevate them. And they lost in the portal 3 of their best defensive backs, and they still look ferocious on defense, and they were able to have a comeback win offensively. They should be the happiest team in the country right now, because not only are they 4-0 and the expectations weren't high, they also have Keyshawn Henderson and a bunch of really, really good recruits coming in next year. So I don't know. It's been such a fun conference. Kansas could still get hot and be good. Their O-line is good. Their offense is good. Their defense is not. But they could still be really, really good. I think everyone is dangerous. Right now, I think the optimal situation for Arizona State in the next 4 games would be let's say you go 3-1 in the next 4. It's realistic, not overly outlandish. But if that one loss comes to Houston, that'd be the best possible situation, because you'd have 3 wins over 3 teams, tie-breaking wins over teams that are expected to be in contention at the end of the year. And I don't think in much that a loss to Cincinnati didn't hurt Arizona State last year. I don't think a loss to Houston would hurt ASU at all. Would prefer 4-0, but if they're going to be 3-1 in the next 4, the real meat of the schedule, that's the one that I worry about. And then there's a team in Tucson that tried for a little bit. And
let's talk about it a little bit, because there are 2 teams in the Big 12, UCF and Arizona. They are combined 6-2 on the season. They're each 3-1. However, I don't think either are good football teams. What are your reads on those 2 teams?
The Big 12 collectively scheduled very poorly, and a lot of it's random and circumstantial, but the Big 12 collectively scheduled very poorly in non-conference play, and did not win a lot of the games that they needed to win to get this conference in a position to maybe have 2 representatives in the college football playoff. But they cleaned up in a lot of the other contests. I think West Virginia is maybe the only one that didn't do their part. So the reason that they have good records is they have played nobody. That's it. You have an Arizona offensive line that can block downhill well, but can't pass block. You have a quarterback who can be overwhelmed, who is a good quarterback, by the way, but can be overwhelmed, and a lot of that just has to do with his size and chemistry with the team in its current iteration. And then they have a couple of players on defense that are so much better than everyone that if they go out for any reason, you really, really feel the absence. I think that it's probably a 3-year build type situation in the same way it was for Jed Fish at Arizona. And then I look at UCF and I'm like, they genuinely, like ASU was in a position last year, they need somebody with multiple years of eligibility to be the one to rise to the top in the quarterback competition. That way, they are also in the process of a multi-year build. I don't worry about UCF at all at this point. I think they are the least talented team, top to bottom, in the conference, but that could change quick with the portal and just existing in Central Florida. But I do think Arizona is a lot like Jet Fish. Like they'll be sneaky, maybe 5 to 6 wins this year, and next year would be the year that you'd really judge whether the Brent Brennan process is working. But I have enjoyed their fans living and dying with each win and loss.
I mean, when you're at that point, you got to. There's one team that we haven't talked about yet, and it's probably the most disappointing team in the Big 12 thus far. They wear purple. They play in Manhattan. It's Kansas State, who, yes, did beat UCF, is 2-3 on the season, but has just looked awful, awful, awful. And we will get Ralph's opinion on Kansas State as I remind everybody who's watching on TV that the party does always continue over at gophnx.com, which means it's time for overtime
in
here.
a bit.
Oh, well, he was going to talk, so we're going to get overtime now. So
That's
then
fine.
it'll be
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
whatever. Ralph, thoughts on Kansas State?
Any time that somebody gets in a quarterback's ear before the season and says, these are the things you need to do to look good for NFL scouts, ends up being a problem, I think, for your entire roster. And I look at Caleb Williams not wanting to run the football in his redshirt junior season or his junior season at USC, and they go from being a 10-win team to a 7-6 team, and he only has like 150 yards rushing on the season. Avery Johnson is an elite athlete. Everyone keeps calling him a running back. I think it got in his head. His hesitance to run when he is just as athletic as Sam Levitt has dearly, dearly cost the Kansas State team that isn't as athletic as you need to be to make up for it, especially on the defensive end.
Now it's time for overtime here on Go PHNX. Okay. Damon says Arizona's offensive line pass protected well versus Iowa State. The problem has mostly been penalties instead of sacks and pressures. Thoughts?
I mean, they pass protected well insofar as everyone on Iowa State's defense is in a mash unit. I mean, I think that it was a big part of and Iowa State's not really like a team that will overwhelm you with blitzing and stuff like that. But they were gassed out. They were beat up. They were, I think, ultimately, especially when you get up as big as they did early in the game, then there's also a little bit of a let off and a prevent. So I think you have to take all things into consideration with that. But I still like their ability to block in the run game. I just think that they also have taken a lot of penalties this year because they're still adjusting to speed off the edge.
Who are your top 3 teams if you had to pick right now? Like, I get that Iowa State's 5-0, but obviously they're really injured. I get BYU's 4-0, Houston's 4-0. If you could pick 3 teams right now who at the end of the season are going to be the top 3 teams in contention for a Big 12 championship to play in Dallas, who would those 3 teams be?
Texas Tech, BYU, Arizona State.
Put BYU in there.
Yeah, because they're not just winning because the first 8 games are soft. They are being more physical and defensively making plays that make me think that if Bachmeier is ready, come game 9, even though he has carried them at points this year with his ability to pick up first downs. I think that if he's ready and not beat up, and they actually have a couple of good backup quarterbacks too, but if he's ready and not beat up come game 9, all they have to do to be in contention is go 2-2 in the back third, in my view. I do think they're going to start out 8-0. So if they go 2-2 on the backside of that schedule, then you're going to be around naturally. So that it's part of it. Part of it's that they've looked better than I thought they would, and another part of it is they're just, I feel like, going to have a huge head start.
I think that's completely fair, especially schedule-wise. I don't think anybody would consider BYU just a top 3 team in the conference if they played the best teams against the best teams.
You think they go
1,000,000% agree.
You think they go beat Iowa State in Ames?
Yeah, I do.
And then it's the Texas Tech game where you're, uh-oh.
Yeah. I'm much higher on Texas Tech than I was going into the season.
So am I, Ralph. I'm sad about it.
I know Shane was really hoping the power of friendship came through, and it did not. The power of money wins again.
I love the power of money. I danced for for capitalism.
Well, it's time to celebrate yet again, but we won't ask you to dance, Ralph, but here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do a little intro. We're going to celebrate David Rodish, a.k.a. Scone Man, or Scone Boy. I don't know which one he is. Scone Boy? Okay, sorry. You have not yet earned Scone Man, David Rodish. We're going to play the win music, and while we play the win music, David Rodish has specifically requested that you break down Wyoming's offense.
Oh, my God.
So,
sure.
Let's get ready. Feel the vibes. Ooh, David. Scone. I'm going to call him Scone Man. He paid to become a member. He is now Scone Man is a member. Let's party and talk Wyoming offense.
David, which one of these 8 touchdowns on the season do you want to talk about? How about that 126th ranked offense in points per game? Only one receiver with more than 6 catches this season, and his last name sounds like you're making fun of mentally handicapped people. Oh, I love this offense. 6.6 yards per attempt. One more 6, and that's the Devil's number.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. That's so funny. Oh, Ralph, I love it when you hop on the show, man. It's always a good time.
I just made myself sad.
Well, don't be sad, Ralph. Don't be sad. It's going to be a great weekend of college football, even if Arizona State is not playing. The best part is ASU can't lose this weekend, Ralph.
That is true. And Wyoming is going to be UNLV's first loss in hell at 7,220 feet in Laramie, Wyoming. So make sure you tune in for that hot Mountain West action.
Ooh, I'm excited. I'm tingling just thinking about it. Well, Ralph, that's going to do it for PHNX Sun Devils. Can you let the people know if they're like, wow, I really loved that Wyoming offensive breakdown over our win music, or anything else you talked about today with the Sun Devils, with college football, exactly what you're doing on a daily basis and where they can find it?
Yeah, so I'm on X, the Everything app. It's all happening on X, and I do not have the ability to not respond. So if you want to argue special teams and rob some valuable time that I could be spending with my children, I will fight with you because I have no self-control. Also, relaunching my Fortcast podcast. I was actually up for we'll talk about it off the air, but I was offered something, ended up turning it down, and because of that, I got some spare time. Spaces every Wednesday. We talk ball, and this last week was an absolute mess, and I'm not allowed to talk on this show about what made it a mess, but I did enjoy everybody being upset and riled up, and I'm sorry, but I will do it again.
You can follow him at Ralph Amsden, and of course, he'll be back on PHNX Sun Devils again. It's always Ralph hours. It's never not Ralph hours. We appreciate you. We appreciate the Deli Man behind the Mac making all of the magic happen. I know I've messed up the regular Toe Tree outro because he always goes to you last. So let me Let me refresh it. You can follow the show at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow Anthony Totri if you so feel like it, despite him abandoning us in the bye week at Anthony_Totri. You can follow me, the passenger princess who had to move over into the driver's seat, at Erik Ruby. You can follow the deli man at Shane Beef.
Proudly supporting my goat, Brendan Sorsby, as always.
Ripped Sorsby. And remember, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.